Hello Internet. Today I'd like to talk to you about my speed read through Catching Fire. What? I was actually going to wait a little longer between reading Catching Fire and The Hunger Games so I didn't read the series right in a row. But then I got an angry email from the library saying someone else requested it and they needed the book back. This is what happens when I read popular books. So as I said before, the book is Catching Fire. It was written by Suzanne Collins in 2009. And my feelings on the book are as follows. No! So quickie summary for those who aren't familiar with the books. And just a heads up, as a sequel, from here on out, this review will be riddled with spoilers. So Katniss and Peeta have returned to District 12 as victors of the Hunger Games. We think everything's dandy, but President Snow is pissed off at the fact that they ate the berries together, and that's considered an act of rebellion. Even though Katniss didn't really mean it that way. But maybe she did. There's unrest in the districts, there's talk of a rebellion starting, and the Capitol is doing their best to quash it, but you can see the efforts are not going the best. So the first part of the book really focuses on that. Katniss and Peeta traveling through the districts on their victory tour, and you start to see where some of this political unrest is coming in. And then it's time for the annual Hunger Games, and because it's a quarter Cal, or the 75th anniversary, it has to have a surprise twist to it. And the twist is that this year, instead of new tributes, they're going to be putting victors from previous Hunger Games against each other. And Katniss is the only girl from District 12, so obviously she's going back. President Snow! Yeah, that's a really basic plot overview, but quickie summary over. First of all, I liked this book even better than the last one. The main thing is, it did what I really wanted to see in the last one, and you got to know more about the victors or the other tributes, and really sympathize with them, and you cared for this big chunk of them instead of just Katniss and Peeta. I did it again. You actually learned and found out the backstories of a lot of these other victors who are going to compete in the Hunger Games. And so instead of just rooting for Katniss and Peeta, you actually had an emotional connection to a lot of them, and you didn't want to see them die. You finally got to find out about Haymitch's Hunger Games, which I was really excited to know about since, like, the last one. This book just gave you so many likable characters, as opposed to, in the Hunger Games you had Peeta and Katniss and Rue, and you didn't really like a ton of the other tributes that much. They were kind of all jerks. But in this one you had so many characters that were just so awesome. And at the same time, it just made me feel so much angrier than the Hunger Games. And I also think that's something to do with Katniss losing her apathy towards the whole thing too, because then you start caring about it more. But in this book, I think you get to see much more about the police state and the corrupt government and people abusing power and people getting killed for no reason or punished for no reason, and it's really screwed up, and you get so angry. If Cinna is dead, I'm gonna flip a fucking table. Like, I don't even know who Annie is, and I like Annie. There were a couple things I didn't like as much as The Hunger Games. I think this book had a lot of explaining and recapping, maybe a little bit too much. Because a lot of the things that they were explaining were pretty obvious, like what a Jabberjay was. It was just like if in Harry Potter, every book she decided to explain what a wand was. There was a little bit too much explanation of the past book. Wasn't too bad, just something I noticed. I also got a little bit annoyed at the love triangle focus, and I know it's becoming more of a prominent thing, especially at the beginning of the book, because they're no longer in immediate danger, they have the chance, like, they might be able to start a new life. But the focus on it does kind of get on my nerves, just like it gets on Katniss's nerves, I think. Because there are so many other important things that are really being contested, like her family's safety and her safety and keeping her friends alive, that the love triangle isn't really a love triangle, it's more of a political tool. The person that Katniss favors the most is the person who's going to be most advantageous in that situation. If loving Peeta and marrying Peeta is going to keep her family safe, then she's going to go for that. And if Gil's the one who will run off with her and her family in the woods, she's going to go for that. And that's not to say that Katniss doesn't have emotions or feelings for either of these boys. But obviously in her mind, romantic connection is not the priority at the moment. And I think for her, that's what's frustrating, both about the boys wanting to push their feelings on her, and then everyone else wanting to push where her feelings should go, and President Snow controlling her marriage and all this stuff, because she just wants to say over her own life, and romance is not part of that right now. So I guess I'm more annoyed at the misinterpretation of that than actually the plot in the book. Team Peeta and Team Gale is not a thing. If anything, I'm gonna be on Team Finnick. Or Team Cinna, is that a thing? Or like Team Katniss, because she's a boss. I'm on Team Cinna. Reiteration. If Cinna's dead, I'm going to flip a f***ing table. Also, I was a little annoyed at the continued ploys on TV to make it look like they were some star-crossed couple. The pregnant thing was really weird, especially because it only came up for like 5 seconds and then it wasn't really a thing anymore. And I get it, he was trying to get the same kind of shock value and like life-saving support that they did in the last Hunger Games. But at the same time, it did feel kind of like, been there, done that. Katniss is not very good at faking being pregnant. If I were 17 years old and put in an arena forced to kill a bunch of other people, I wouldn't be very good at faking pregnant either. And just like last time, there were such kind of nominal complaints that I still really enjoyed the book, and I just sped right through it. So overall, I really liked this book, even a little bit better than the last one. There were really good plot twists in it. Even though I'd seen a lot of spoilers online before I read the books, there were still like moments of it that were just like, what's going on? And it was awesome. And the ending was a total cliffhanger. It really left me wanting to read the next one, which I'm probably gonna do because Mockingjay is gonna be hard to get in the library too, and they're gonna request it back again. So anyway, awesome book. You should definitely check it out, especially if you read the first book or seen the movie and you enjoyed them. I think my next book will probably be Mockingjay, unless I want to, read one book in between. But yeah, so that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out this book. We'll see you guys later. Stay cool, internet. Peace. I keep calling them Katna and Petus. Whoops. President Snow! What? I get the title because her dress was a bird.